What is up YouTube, and welcome to this Halo 3 breakdown and review. So far I have disliked the show and every single decision they have taken so far towards the lore, and it would have been cool to see maybe this story from the games exactly told in a different medium, but here we are in this silver timeline. Even the actor who plays Chief took to social media to defend the show, and I want to make it clear that I do like him as an actor. I think that he plays the role written for him well, but the writers have not written Master Chief, they've written a dude who just wears power armor. Now we start off in Oban, which is a kind of planet for refugees, and we see some kids living in squalor. It first appeared in Halo 4, and this is a flashback for our human Covenant. You can see them reading the same book that she was reading last week, and they try to get out of the area before one of them are killed by the UEG, and, well, she is hunted and found by Sangelis and taken to a Covenant cruiser. Now, like I said last week, it's clear that she was someone downtrodden by the UNSC/UEG, and the Luminary found her, which is something used to find Forerunner objects. It's clear that she has some sort of Forerunner DNA in her, and it's clear more humans may side with her, maybe, if this is the reason why we have the UEG downtrodden storyline going on with Quan. She is sent to get the Keystone and take out the Demon. Now, Chief was called the Demon in the games, and we cut to Miranda Keyes, who is tasked with analysing the Keystone and find out what weapon it leads to. We know it leads to the Halo array, and we get to one of the biggest single changes I think we've had in the show so far. Now, it's interesting that Miranda Keyes is given this task force, which is running parallel to Miranda Keyes' task force. Cortana was a clone brain AI in the games, and at times she did use Hardlight to interact with our boy Chief, but here we have a Cortana precursor, which does appear to be a physical android. Now, I did think maybe this was going to be Cortana, but, well, she calls him Special, which is something she called him in the games, and her brain is used to put and turn on the Cortana system. Creepily, Halsey's assistant tries to kiss it. I mean, what? Anyway, it appears that instead of the AI brain inserted into the back of Chief's helmet, like a little chip with a little chip thing, it is being inserted into the back of Chief's head directly. We see her wake up, and she looks remarkably different from the games, and is tasked with looking into the object. Now, Cortana does seem very, very much like her game self, which is a huge plus. Just as we were getting closer-ish to the games, we cut to Quan because, I don't know, I always knew we would come back to her. But we then cut back to Cortana, and I have to say the actress has nailed it, as the voice is Jen Taylor, or played by Jen Taylor, sorry, the same actress for the games. It's funny how much this adds to the show, and I think that having the voice actor of Chief would have been better to have instead of Pablo Schreiber, who I really like. He was great in American Gods as Sweeney. But we cut to UNSC Gladius, who is the subject of a trap by the Covenant human, as a Covenant cruiser is used as bait. Just as the Chief touches the artifact, we see more of Chief's younger days, and Halsey is unsure as to why the artifact only interacts with John, and it seems similar to the Covenant human as we cut to her, and she comes off her pod. We see battle rifles trained on her, my favourite gun. They don't trust her at first, and she has an axe to grind with the UNSC, but they welcome her. The Lek Golo attack, probably pronounced that wrong, the ship's personnel, and these things form the hunters from the game. You know, the things you just need to jump over and shoot in the back. The rest of Chief's team meet up again, and Cortana introduces herself, and she seems just perfect, I think, so far. I don't mind the look change there, because she is basically herself. And they want to see what happens when he touches the object, and they look at where the planet is that he's seeing. He removes his emotional regulator, and he goes out on a train and lives his life to go back to the object, which I thought that was pretty lame, to be honest. He seems to remember burying an object on a planet with ice rings, which is Eridanus 2, which is Chief's original planet from the lore, and was actually a huge thing here in the games. So there were secessionist rebels in this system where the planet was, and this is where Chief was actually kidnapped from. So there's a whole backstory there. So we then cut to Quan, who wants to return to Madrigal and wants Soren's help, and the Human Covenant wants to head to Madrigal to find where the Keystone was taken, and Chief heads to Eridanus to find the truth of his abduction and suppression of the insurrections, which he will probably find out, and Cortana will suppress in his memory, I think. But this episode was really boring. I was incredibly bored throughout. It doesn't seem to really be going anywhere. Cortana was cool, but the show as a whole is pretty naff. But that's it for this video. Please drop a like down below to subscribe with notifications on, and I'll see you soon, and goodbye.